Good morning, everybody. We are going to be looking at the Frostfire Mage talent build, rotation, stat priority, pretty much everything you're going to need to know to actually play a Frostfire Mage. Alright, starting off, this is my talent build. I will have this down in the description down below. So looking at Ice Barrier, it's just a given. You have to get into it. It's going to be your defensive. It's going to be probably your main defensive every time. This has a synergy with the Frostfire build, so it's going to be a very important defensive to pop frequently. Ice Block, which is pretty much your bubble to get rid of any kind of dots, bleed effects, anything. We also have some synergy down here, so we get a healing effect from them. Looking at Overflowing Synergy, it's just going to give us an increase of DPS. Incanter's Flow, which is going to be giving us another DPS boost. Reducing damage by 4%. This row right here, you can do a couple things with this one, right? You can take these points off, grab Remove Curse. Some people like to grab Remove Curse, or grab your Slow. Personally, I don't think about using Remove Curse pretty much ever, especially because most curses, they come with a side effect for dispelling them early. You're either going to get silenced or more damage taken, and that's mainly towards like a Warlock. So I take the reduced magic damage overall. And then I'm grabbing Spell Steal as well, which are going to be able to take any kind of beneficial magic, like a Pally's Bubble of sorts. Then we have Mirror Image, which is going to be another cooldown defensive. It's going to give us a 20% damage reduction, and it's on a 2-minute cooldown. Kind of longer, but it's just something to have up. It lasts for like a minute, I think, but it lasts for a while, so you pop that early before you even get into a fight, and you'll be good to go. Shifting Power, this is going to decrease our cooldown. We're not using this for damage at all. It is specifically to reduce the CDs of what's already been using, so you're going to use this later on in a fight. And then we're going to be grabbing Alter Time as well. Alter Time is going to be one of our main defensive cooldowns. It's on a 50-second cooldown, but it's going to replace whatever health we lost in that window and put us back in that original location where we pressed it at. The problem with Alter Time is, let's say you do it when you're in an extreme low health situation and the healer decides to heal you up to max health. If you end up pressing that again, it's going to put you back at that health point. So be very careful if you decide to use this. Use this when you're at full health, or in an emergency situation for low health to minimize the amount of the possible death that you may actually end up getting. Then we're grabbing, like I said, we're going to have synergy with our Ice Block. It's going to give us a 50% heal over time. Utilizing Cold Snap, it's going to give us 2 Ice Blocks, which in a 30-second window, you'll be able to utilize again. I'm going with Quick Witted to get a counterspell. The Master of Time, reduce cooldown of Alter Time. This is going to benefit this here. Grabbing Blast Wave, which is going to be just another knockback. Shimmer, which is going to replace your Blink, and Blink's going to be your main getaway move, as well as grabbing Displacement. Displacement's going to put you back in that original position where you used Displacement, or utilized your Shimmer, and you're also going to heal from Displacement. And then for the next column, we're going to grab Ice Nova. Ice Nova is just a quick DPS move, keeps them in place so we can at least hit our comment at them. If you want more CC for whatever reason, grab Ring of Frost. Then we're going to increase our critical strike chance. We're going to grab another CC, is Dragon's Breath. You're going to be able to combine Dragon's Breath and Polymorph to the same thing. So you're going to hit Dragon's Breath, then Polymorph, and you're going to get about an 8-second CD out of that full thing. But you're going to want to do that simultaneously. We're going to get Tome of Antonidas to increase our haste by 2%. Volatile Detonation is just going to greatly increase our knockback. The Energized Barriers, when you have a barrier active, it attacks you, have a 10% chance to be granted Fingers of Frost, which is going to give us synergy with our Frost spec. Every time we blink, we're going to get a 20% increase of movement speed. Our cooldowns are Blink and Shimmer are reduced by 4 seconds, so it's just going to give us access to Shimmer more frequently. Time Manipulation is going to be casting Ice Lance on frozen targets, reduce cooldowns every loss of control abilities, so going to have those up much more frequently. And then Time Anomaly is going to give us at any moment you have a chance to gain Icy Veins for 8 seconds, Brain Freeze, or Time Warp. So this comes in clutch whenever you're bursting, because if you pop Icy Veins before that, you have a possibility of getting Time Warp in that duration, which just makes your haste kind of insane. We're also going to grab Greater Invisibility, Barrier Diffusion, and then we're going to grab Mass Barrier. Some people grab Mass Invisibility, but this is going to help your party out way more than grabbing just the Invis for everybody. So this is our left side that we are taking. Next, we'll be going into Frost. Frost is kind of straightforward. We're going to be taking Ice Lance Frozen Orb, which is going to give us Fingers of Frost, which is going to be part of our burst. Grabbing Fingers of Frost here. Flurry, Shatter, Brain Freeze, Everlasting Frost, Winter's Blessing, Frostbite, Piercing Cold, Bone Chilling, Permafrost Lances, Lonely Winter, Perpetual Winter. Now, a lot of these, if you realize, they're all passives. All these passives are just giving us a DPS increase, like an insane amount of DPS, honestly. Grabbing Comet Storm, that's going to be part of our burst as well. Icy Veins. Icy Veins is going to be a continuation of our burst. You don't actually even need Icy Veins up to be given the amount of burst that we're going to be able to put out. I'll show you why. And then Splintering Cold, Chain Reaction, Splitting Ice, Thermal Void, Freezing Rain, Freezing Winds, and Hailstones. So we're not picking that many extra moves up. If you wanted to play around with this build and grab Ray of Frost and then Cryopathy, it'd be worth it maybe. But from my experience, with the way the mage is playing right now, everything's very insta-cast, move around, and just throw a bunch of Ice Lances and Flurry out. For the amount of proc rates that we get, it's just kind of insane. I don't see a reason why to take Ray of Frost when you do plenty of burst damage with just those 3 moves. Alright, like I said, we are going into Frostfire. So our Frostfire talents, you're going to grab all your talents. I'm going to only go over the ones that you can choose the ones between, because you're just going to grab all of them, right? So, Flame and Frost, Cold Snap is additionally going to reset your cooldowns of your fire spells. So, it's going to be your Dragon's Breath, Blast Wave, and Ring of Fire. Ring of Fire is a PvP talent I'll be talking about here shortly. Thermal Conditioning, which is going to increase our cast time to reduce by 10%. That's much better than casting damage. Frost or Fire has a high chance to increase the damage of your next bolt up to 5 times. I just want to be able to cast as many Frostfires as quickly as possible versus getting a damage increase. And then either Meltdown or Imbued Warding. Ice Barrier also casts Blazing Barrier at 25% effectiveness. This is going to give us a better defensive boost with our Ice Barrier. It's about 100 or 200k depending on your gear. So that's a very nice defensive to have on top of your Ice Barrier. As far as our PvP talents, we'll be going into Concentrated Coolness, which is going to increase our damage of our Frozen Orb. We're going to get Mastered Shepherd, which is going to... Mastered Shepherd is one that you can actually choose differently. So if you want Ice Wall or Ice Form or something like that, you can probably take Master Shepherd out. Master Shepherd is only going to be very useful if you're able to polymorph another target. If you don't polymorph that often, this may not help you, but I always try and find a target to polymorph first, and then I'm going to end up going and doing my DPS. And then I'm using Ring of Fire. Ring of Fire is an overall strong talent. If you can freeze people inside the Ring of Fire, that's where you're going to maximize that DPS out completely. Now let's look at what our gear should look like, what kind of stat priorities we should be actually focusing on. For PvP specifically, we will be looking at Versatility, then Haste, then Mastery, then Critical Strike. Our Critical Strike chance, because of frozen targets, is already increased insanely, so our ability crit we don't have really an issue with. We want to maximize our Versatility the most because that's going to increase our damage on players, increase our damage on healing, and our damage reduction from what players do to us. Then our Mastery, which is just insane itself, is just going to boost all of our DPS overall. And then Haste. Haste is going to allow us to our global cooldown to reduce faster, and we can put out as much damage as possible. So, like I said, we're going to be focused on Versatility, Haste, Mastery, and Crit. And then wherever you can, you're going to want to try and get Speed and Chance wherever you can on your offsetted gears, or if you can get Versatility and Chance, you're going to want to focus on those. Alright, for our rotation. So our burst rotation is kind of odd, but not too odd. So we have our Frozen Orb. We're going to be doing Comet into Ice Nova. And then in between Flurry and then Ice Lance. At this point, we probably are going to already have a Fingers of Frost from our Frozen Orb to be casting Ice Lances, to be critting 500k's, 1,000,000 damage, depending on, what you're fighting. Flurries are going to be critting, and then hopefully you get an instant cast of Frostfire Bolt as well. That's going to help everything to increase your DPS. Down here at the screen, I will have the push buttons so you can actually see on what I'm actually pressing. So it's going to look something like this. And I'll talk about Icy Veins later, and you'll see why I do Icy Veins later to try and extend this burst out completely. So we'll hit Frozen Orb. We're going to use Blizzard to reduce our cooldown of Frozen Orb. Ice Nova, Comet, Ice Lance, Flurry, Ice Lance, Flurry, You see how many procs of Ice Lances and Flurry that I'm end up receiving. I'm going to use every proc that comes up first before actually utilizing anything else. And now I'm casting Frostfire Bolt. So once you get to the point where you have to start casting Frostfire Bolt, then you're going to pop Icy Veins to get that damage increase and that 20% haste. So you pop Icy Veins and then start casting everything else again. You're going to start receiving procs. Cooldowns are going to start coming back, so you're going to be able to Comet, Ice Nova as well, and then hit Ice Lance, Flurry, Flurry again, Ice Lance, because you have all those Icicles. Then you're going to cast Frostfire Bolt where necessary. The only time you want to cast Ice Lance that's not a proc is when you have 5 Ice Lances or more. Personally, if you're able to cast Frostfire over Ice Lance, that's what you're going to want to do. You don't want to launch those Icicles out too quickly. And then rinse and repeat. So those cooldowns come off a lot faster. Like I said, Blizzard, whenever you throw your Frozen Orb down, your Blizzard's going to be an instant cast on that entire area. And for every player that it actually hits, you're going to get a cooldown reduction on your Frozen Orb. So it's very important to throw down your Blizzard, even if it's on one target, to get your Frozen Orb back. It's just going to bring your burst to come into a short window. So like I said, for our defensives, we do have Mirror Image, Ice Block, Ice Barrier, Displacement, Blinks, Invis, Mass Barrier, Polymorph, Dragon's Breath, Mirror Image, and then I'm a Mecha Gnome, so I have that, but that doesn't really do anything. I only did it because now I can spawn like 8 people. And then, so Ring of Fire is going to be situational use only. So whenever you are going up into your arena or your BG, this is going to be placed in wherever you think. There doesn't really have a point, but if you can, if your teammate is a target, or even if yourself is a target, if your teammate's a target, throw it on your teammate, or if you're the target, throw it on yourself. And that way you can fight inside that bubble. Like I said, you have plenty of defensive to stay there for a little bit, freeze them in place, but utilizing Frost Nova or Ice Nova as well. And that's how you're going to want to utilize Ring of Fire. I appreciate it if you've made it this far into the guide. Like the video, comment down below. Let me know if I missed anything or if you have a question about how the build actually operates. Like I said, it's down in the description. Copy it, paste it, try it out. It has an insane amount of burst and great defensive utility. And let me know your thoughts on what other class guides you guys would want.